Here, and we'll call this meeting to order, 6:01. Let's do roll call. This is strong. Here, and we'll call this meeting to order, 6:01.
Eldon Larson,
Yeah, I'm here.
Rhonda Robertson, Andrew Bushman,
Here.
Dayton Flake,
Here.
Karsten Flake.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I will. Stand, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, how about a volunteer for the invocation? Thanks, Karsten.
Our dear Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee, we're grateful for this opportunity to meet. Help us that we'll be able to make good decisions, know the decisions that we should make, and that we'll have the information that we need. We love Thee and are grateful for opportunities to live in a free country, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Thanks for the second, Andrew. Do we have any discussion needed or anything that needs to be moved around that you guys have noticed?
I think it's good.
Okay, call for the vote. Myself, yes. Karsten?
Yes.
Dayton? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the February 9th, 2021 regular board meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion needed? Okay, call for the vote. Karsten?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Thank you on that. That brings us to our report from our superintendent.
Sure, thank you. You have a written report. I can update it a little bit and take you through some of the other attachments as well. One attachment that's on here I should bring to your attention, it'll be of interest to you, is that state audit report of each district. So it has graphs and things on it. Eldon referred to this at our budget work session. And some of the, some of this might be hard to interpret, like some of the acronyms they use for terms, categories, but if you have any questions at all, just ask and I'll try and clarify what they might be reporting on. So our peer, they do put us in a peer group, and it is possible to find out who's in your peer group. I haven't looked this year. I think Mr. Winter brought out a point at the budget work session that sometimes these numbers you got to be careful because they might not be saying exactly what you think they're saying, depending on situations. Like, and Mr. Miller also pointed out, like if you have a staff that with not a lot of turnover, it impacts the salary average, things like that. But anyway, if you want to take a minute to look that over, I can take you through it, or if you already have and have questions. The two things I would probably point out, if you'll allow me to, would be where we're high in comparison to the state and our peer group. It's marked in red. And that would be our plant operations. It's like our cost to operate our buildings per square foot and dividing the students into the square footage. So we're high, but we know that because we have a big campus at both schools. And then our food service is a little high, if you'll take a look at that. And that's because we're right there on the line of, not being quite big enough to keep that cost down, and not, it's so small that if we get any smaller, it might be, or want to cancel that out or do something else. But anyway, some smaller districts don't have the service. We haven't always had the service here in Joseph City. The transportation, we're a little high, but not unreasonable. So that might be the points of interest for you.
Any questions, gentlemen?
And I did want to say a few other things, not just on this.
Yeah, I figured.
There's some legislative updates going on right now. Then they say it's good news for education. So let's see. Fourth year funding for CTE looks like it's going to pass. And there was a movement to do that. So they had 3 categories of performance pay for teachers. They're going to combine those funds into one, is my understanding. That's either passed or they think it's going to pass. Have you seen that as well?
I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay, so I just received some on that today, so it's brand new. But it looks good. It should make the accounting of it a little easier, we think. And for the teachers, it may even be easier because of the process and everything. But along those lines, also there was legislation to have some things with board members, like I think it was actually term limits.
Yeah.
But
Term limits.
But there were some rural districts that were they didn't like how it was written because a lot of times it can be difficult or challenging to find people to serve. So there was some lobbying against the way this was written. So it looks like that one has failed. And then SR3 looks like that's not state legislation. That's federal legislation. It does look like it's which would be more COVID funds for the school. So I did want to point those things out. Our seniors we would like to have a representative here next month to highlight the senior trip that we're planning. It's not an out-of-state trip, so it doesn't really require board action, but it might be good to either have a sponsor or a student here. I don't know what Mr. Miller had in mind exactly. Let's see. I had some other current events on there. We had the science fair, went well. Many other things that Mr. Miller's writing a little article, or getting information. I don't know if he wrote the article, but for the Tribune, should be coming out this week. Community use of facilities is on the agenda for tonight, and if that passes, the pool could be heated and going here for some lifeguard training soon this month. And I don't know, I don't have much to add to that written report there unless you had questions on any item. I would point out, so at the work session, you guys had asked me for some information. I have been working on that if you want me to get into any of that. There were some general questions, and I think I have enough information to speak to any of those things now, but I included in my report a letter that's an attorney opinion on the governor's reopening of schools. I put it in there just so you could read it. Basically, we're already in compliance. There is a reporting requirement that I will personally take care of, but we already are in person. So he's, as you saw, if you watched the news, schools are required to go back in person. Depending on the matrix in their county, there's different dates, and you still have to offer the distance learning program. However, we're in compliance, like I said, but I included the attorney opinion on the governor's decision to make that executive order.
When does the COVID thing, the board passed, I thought it ended temporarily unless we renew it. Doesn't it end this month?
What thing was that? Sorry.
To help the teachers, staff with COVID?
COVID leave?
Oh, yeah, COVID leave.
Is that something that we need to look at redoing because it's going to expire? Or?
I don't have a recommendation on that at this time. The numbers are really slowing down. not that, there are people that still have it or are having it, but the board would like me to put that on there. We can for
There's
April.
gonna be some lapse, correct, between now and, because I believe it was through the end of March.
Do you recall offhand? Probably spring break seems like it rings a bell, so that's next week. There could be a lapse, but we can take care of that. That's not gonna be a barrier to address this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a barrier.
I'm just wondering if it looks like there's a need to even continue it.
If you wanna make that a board decision, that's fine. If you guys want a recommendation from me right now, I don't see a need to continue it, but I'm open.
Okay. Maybe let's look at it. If there is something between now and then probably we need to relook at it. If not, then we probably don't.
Well, my concern, just to be frank here, and I'd love Mr. Mills maybe to speak in on the funding source for this, because that's one thing I really didn't prepare to talk about here, and I don't recall if the funding source was going through the year. But we're short on subs, and I was just, I don't want to encourage anyone to come to school sick if they're sick, but we have a lot of sick leave. We have a good sick leave package. But I don't want to encourage people not to come to work at this point. We're trying to get our kids caught up, so that's where I'm coming from, just so you know. Do you remember what the funding source was when it ended?
There isn't any funding,
So this was coming right out of our
Yeah,
budget.
this was coming out of our own budget.
right?
But we do have COVID funds that we
Hey, with those SRs, we could use that.
Sure.
So we could probably just take it, if needed, case-by-case basis, ratify it the next board meeting if you have to do something.
Yeah. We'll get it on the next, agenda, and we'll definitely look at if we have any employees that, have reported that they're sick with COVID. So I'll take care of that. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Flick. It's good.
Any more news on the, elementary roof? Is that?
Yeah, yes. I'm glad you asked. So March 16th, is the day that we're having a site walkthrough. That's required when you're dealing with this, much money. And let me see the time on that. I don't recall offhand. I think it's 1 o'clock. I'll make sure. So it's March 16th at, 10 o'clock. And yeah, they have a sign-in sheet. We have to advertise that, and it's, for all the potential bidders, contractors. So that's an important meeting. It's now scheduled, so that's great. Good news for that.
And it's approved, right? We just are finding.
First part, yeah, not all of it yet. So they take it through stages, like a design stage, engineering, and construction. So we don't even have an amount until we get the bids. But from what I've seen and what I understand is once you get the design, there's not a problem with it. So the high school one, we accepted a bid, and you guys approved it last month. I believe it was like $469,000. It's on the minutes of our meeting. They have not approved that one yet. They will at their next board meeting. So I thought it would have been on their last one, but they haven't officially. Once that is passed by them, we'll get a construction schedule for that roof. So that one's just a little bit ahead of the elementary one. But we have an auditorium project in at the school facilities board too. It's upgrading the light. And yeah, so that's the majority of my report. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and you might want to save them till we come to an agenda item, and that's fine as well. Not a problem.
Any more questions? Okay. Do you have anybody signed up for call to the public? Okay. Individuals who wish to address the board are requested to complete the appropriate form prior to the meeting and give the form to the board secretary. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 5 minutes or less. That speakers refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA, and that speakers refrain from voicing complaints against school personnel or any person connected with the district as it may impact due process rights. Policies KE, KEB, and KED are provided by the board for disposition of legitimate complaints, including those involving individuals. Forms required for use of these policies can be obtained from the Joe City Schools website. The president will limit discussion whenever he deems such action appropriate to the proper conduct of the meeting. And we have Mrs. Flake signed up first.
I think it picked up. Good. Yeah, her voice.
All right. So just two things I was wondering about. Graduation this year, I don't know if it's something that the board is part of or if it's just the high school stuff, but if it's something that's going to need approval or whatever, I would like to get that going so we can get it done. I think we're able to do the play at the school and have all the sporting activities and stuff. I don't see why we shouldn't be able to have a graduation. So I just wanted to make sure we get on that. And then I also was wondering about the calendar. I know this last year there was the whole big calendar debate thing that went on for a little while, and the public, had a say in it. This year it didn't seem like there was much input from anybody else. That was just voted on, and it was kind of interesting to me that we went back up to the 148 days because it was said in the meeting where it was voted on that we needed to make sure we were getting all the time that we needed in and meeting the requirements. But then this year we had 145 days and we had the snow day that we didn't have to make up. So it just kind of is interesting how it's being said that we're needing to meet the requirements, but yet we commit the day when we have the lower requirements and not have to make it up. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up. I think that was it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you would allow me, just to make a couple follow-up comments, and we do appreciate the input we get from the community. So graduation is something that Mr. Miller and I have talked about, and with the board, you guys are the governing board of the district, so don't hesitate to bring it up, ask questions as needed. And I could even refer a little bit here to Mr. Miller for details, but where we're currently at with that, just so it's on the record here, is we were going to proceed with it. I asked him to consider it outside, and I think he did. Problem is that there's more seating in our building than actually outside of our building. So the last, our football stadium doesn't seat as many as our auditorium. That's 600 is the auditorium. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if you guys want it as an agenda item for some reason, but you want to add some stuff to that?
Yeah, no, we're planning on proceeding as normal. I guess the only discussion that we're really having is, do we put a limit on how many people come? Sometimes it'll be packed to overflowing and we'll have to add extra chairs. And so I think we have 33 seniors. And even if they each got 10 tickets to bring, that's still 330 out of the 600 seats, So we've kind of gone back and forth on do we give out tickets and have a limit. So that's where we're at right now.
And making a decision too quick here might not be wise, because they're talking about a third wave, but even though the numbers are going down, but one thing he's thinking about is a space in between rows or between chairs. I mean, all these things we gotta at least consider. Other places are doing them. Probably not, but they are a consideration. So. And the calendar, I've talked to some people recently about that. I take full responsibility for not putting a survey out, to parents this year. We have in the past, either like a survey, year before, I believe we did, I did, and, or they'll do like a site council. And at the site council, that's the main topic of discussion. And that didn't happen either. And like I said, that's what it is. I have more to say about the calendar, but, you know, those are good points. I'll stop there unless you have questions.
Okay. Thanks for the information. Yeah, I think it's just probably as soon as we can get it out, what we decide to do, whatever it's gonna be for graduation. I mean, I would hope we would be able to do like a grad night like we've done in the past. I think those are good.
We're planning on all that, yeah.
Have we got all that going and everything? Okay.
Yes, I know, so that's usually kind of put together by the parents, and I know they've kind of discussed and been working on that. I don't know how far it's gotten.
We have some funds set up.
And we do have some funds that we've received from other sources, and, I mean, we'll have something going on, for sure.
Okay.
I think really the only thing that might change is the number of people they can invite, if we need to limit that, and if there's still a mask mandate or something like that, I would think are the really only issues that might be determined closer to the time.
Correct. Yeah, we're gonna have graduation, for sure. Unless the state comes back and says we can't, that would be the only way, I think.
We don't see that happen, but it could.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Crazier things, so.
That brings us to Mr. Winter. Okay. Thanks for being here, as always. That brings us to consent agenda items. I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items as listed. They would be under 4, and it would be 4A, B, and C.
Okay.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion needed? All right, call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Karsten?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to personnel requests. 5A, employee assignments, renewal of volunteers, and resignations. Do we want to do all of those at once, I guess? Kind of look.
5A goes down below that too.
Okay. Well, it's 5AI, so we'll go to 5AI afterwards.
Okay.
So we'll just do 5A. So I'll make a motion that we approve the renewal of Julie Mills as a teacher, librarian, data management, approve volunteers, Katie Frost for softball and Mary Spurlock for softball, approve the resignations of Brad Fisher as AD, Misty Garrison as an elementary aide, and Amy Miller as an elementary librarian.
I'll second it.
Second, it's the easy part. Any discussion needed?
Thank you.
Yeah, as always, I'm thankful for those that work for us. So we appreciate the efforts that they put in. Okay, call for the vote. Andrew?
Yay.
Myself, yes. Karsten?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
All right. Brings us to 5AI. Make a motion that we approve responsibilities as listed.
Yes, it's reassigning Mr. Hutchins.
Make a motion that we approve the reassignment of elementary principal, Mr. Hutchins.
I'll second.
Discussion needed?
There's an attachment here that has some good information, like, the rationale I put together. And some savings, so, you know, when it says savings here, make no mistake, it will cost, there is a cost at the bottom line, but it may not be as much as you first think when you're adding a complete new position. No, there's some savings in between there. So it's not that full amount. So.
I do have a question. What is this one of them is the special ed position. what is that stipend? Do we have a number on it?
No, it used to be a stipend. If this is approved as is, there's no stipend.
Yeah, I understand that. What,
5,000 or 4,500? Mr. Hutchins?
4,500.
4,500. It's probably a little low because we haven't paid it for 3 or 4 years. So it would probably need to go up if we did ever pay it again. But yeah, this approved as is would not, that would be.
yes, it's not, I understand that. It's absorbing.
Yeah.
One.
Okay, the only discussion I have is I still have reservations about, nothing against you, Mr. Hutchins, I just have reservations about rolling things in like that, especially the AD, because we've always put that out, but that's just me.
I do
Put that out there.
have some concerns too with that.
Any other discussion? Appreciate the willingness to want to keep working here, you know? Thanks for that. Like I said,
Thanks for having us.
that's just my reservation as well.
Did you have a chance to look through some of the benefits that it's not every year we have an opportunity to make a move like this either. Not to pressure the governing board members in any way, but, you know, the classroom time, I think, is huge, to me at least. I don't know if you have any questions on that, but the added discipline that we're getting up there is a little concern. So.
The additional money is a concern too.
Well, and, you know, other than, like, music teachers, we have other people that could fit the bill on that as well. So, that's my only reservation. Anybody else need any discussion or anything?
Do we need to get legal counsel on it?
If I understand right, he did.
Sorry, I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say that earlier. Mrs. Robertson asked me to, specifically, and I did. So the follow-up is, we can post it internally like we do typically. Probably not necessary, but just as an added precaution, we were counseled to post it internally like we typically do other positions. And I did, or we did.
Should we,
So we did post it internally,
Yes.
but we didn't have any takers on it?
I didn't check before the meeting, sorry.
how long was
You
it?
can check right now for me.
How long ago did we post it?
I believe 5 days ago. We worked on it last week. Sometimes there's a little gap in between when the requisition goes in and when it gets posted, but
That's just for activities.
it was listed as those 4 categories, actually, and the council specifically said that. I said, now I can pull those out and advertise them separately. Council said, not necessary. What we're doing would be enough.
So no one applied for it.
He's checking. He's checking right now.
Well, Danny would have had to apply.
Oh, Danny did. Mr. Hutchins did. He did.
Okay.
Did. Sorry.
I would hope anyway.
I had to find my certificate and everything.
Yeah, I did check with him.
You
He
definitely-
did take the time this weekend to apply for it.
Yeah, no.
No other applicants, okay.
Okay. Any other
Easy
discussion?
then, I guess. Nobody else is interested, then.
I still struggle with it.
Any more discussion? We'll call for the vote. Karsten, you can vote first, since you're struggling.
Problem is if one of us vote, it can mess it up.
Just vote. That's what you're here for as a board member.
We do need a quorum if that was the question, or to pass.
Yeah. And the hardest one I voted on, I think. I think ultimately the bottom line is yes,
So you're voting yes.
but that's hard.
Okay. Yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew? Myself? No. Passes 3-4.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to personnel appointments. I'll make a motion that we approve the personnel appointments as listed.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion on these ones? All right, call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Karsten?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have 5C. I'll make a motion that we approve the second payment of superintendent's performance pay for FY '21.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I think he's doing a good job.
So do
I
I.
think he's going above and beyond what he has to do.
Yep. He does a great job of finding money for us from different places. I appreciate your work, Mr. Phillips. I think you do a great job. Okay, call for the vote. Andrew?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Karsten?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to 6A. I'll make a motion that we approve the community use of facility fees for 2021-22 school year.
Second.
Any discussion needed? There's a list provided of the fees.
What's the changes? Is it the same?
Yeah, you're free to make changes as you guys would like to. This is how it was, last year.
Okay.
Now, we didn't have some things because of COVID and the situation, but the fees were, as they're listed, are all the same as they were last year. And remember, like this, we'll take this as approval for the pool to open unless there's, a change in the motion or whatever. And typically to schedule, like how much it's open or whatever is not a board decision. It can be if you guys would like more say on the schedule of the pool. We try and schedule it for times where we have enough patrons to justify it. Doesn't quite break even, so that's not what I'm saying. Just 10 is usually the amount of people we're looking for to get the pool open.
So do we have any kind of, we know what the fees are, but how close does that get to offsetting our costs?
Good question.
Because if we're gonna approve the price, I need to know if we're approving negative numbers or positive numbers, I guess, is the bottom line.
Pretty much negative.
Steve, not to put you on the spot, but I know you have
Bad negative.
the labor cost figured already memorized, right?
Kinda, of course it varies, depending on how, what the schedule is, to open, but typically the labor costs run around $15,000 a year, 15 to 18,000, give or take, depending on.
It's a good estimate.
Yeah.
Now that I can give you the chemicals and the heating. There's some electricity, that's minor, so we metered it at one point, Mr. Bushman.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, so
When we metered it, I think it was only a couple hundred a month for that pump, which probably actually, or an electric pump, it might be quite a bit, but the chemicals were, and the principals, I might call on them here if they remember, because I know I told at least Mr. Miller, like 1,200 at least during our season for the chemicals, and for the heat, we were looking at, was it 5,000 a month during the colder months? The natural gas bill, that is. Now, I do have that written down somewhere that I can verify that, but that's my estimate.
The chemicals don't really cost us much more in the summer than they do.
It goes through a little more chlorine,
but
yeah.
I think the chemicals really is
Yeah.
not really a factor because we gotta put chemicals in it all the time anyway.
So I think Andrew was also wondering about, like, if somebody rents the high school or elementary gym, is such a class 4, $70 an hour, cover the lights for a couple of hours?
Lights and the janitorial and I mean, we don't need to make a killing
I
out of
mean,
it,
we're just wondering if we can come close to breaking even on it. I think it's
Good question. Now, we may actually come close to a break even because of the LED lights. But, prior to that, I would be so certain. The outdoor lights are expensive to operate. I will say that, the stadium, but that's reflected, that does cost more to rent. Usually we don't have people renting that, but it does happen. Let me see what that, football stadium without lights is $40 an hour, with lights is $70 an hour. For the category 4, it's even more than that.
my deal is we've got to get people more money. We got to figure out where to make our losses, where we can intelligently cut losses or whatever. I mean, the pool's running us $3,000 to $5,000 a month over what we're bringing in. We open it up 6 months or so. And if everything like that's kind of losing, then ouch, we're cutting a teacher out, or we're cutting a raise out of everybody.
How are we doing on the fitness club? Do we have, I mean, with the COVID thing, it
Last year we
really
did.
took a hit?
Yeah.
That's what I was figuring.
Yeah. You know, the racquetball too, something we could consider. Currently it's $15 a month. We asked that they pay for the whole year. That's a pretty good deal. The pool is a pretty good deal. We could look at adjusting those rates, to your concern. You know, it's one thing I should point out here is the pool is mostly used by our students in the summer. So when we say the community uses it, you know, it is mostly kids. We do have an interest in that.
Okay. Any more questions, gentlemen?
Where would we be if we, and I understand it's not to make money, but if we did raise the price just a little bit, do we have any idea, would we be able to still keep the people that are wanting it / needing it?
That's a tough one for me to say. That's the balance we try to find. We charge too much, it affects attendance, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
I mean, it would be nice if we lowered it, would more people use it, and it might be closer to breaking even. That might be something, but I don't know how you'd even study that.
Probably not. We've had some free nights there. I know some people here have gone. I do look periodically at the rule sheets. But do you guys have anything you want to add, Mr. Hutchins or Eric, like attendance?
I don't know about that, but I don't know if you could even charge enough for the pool for it to even come in the black.
No, I doubt we could anything with the pool, but possibly racquetball and
yeah, those things,
and the weight room and stuff like that. It would be nice if more people used it. I mean, I really doubt that it's costing us much money if it's already open. Having 15 people there as opposed to 10 isn't going to cost any more to clean it up and keep the lights on and whatever. I'm just wondering if we could somehow get more people.
Good to have the kids vested a little bit in there. It's more leverage for them to behave.
Yeah, I'm not saying not make it anything, but, and I'm not even saying maybe necessarily lower it, but what can we do to encourage more participation? Or
I'm not sure there's anything we can do. It's kind of got to be, people got to like swimming.
Yeah.
Or racquetball, I think.
Or racquetball.
I don't even know how many people even pay for that racquetball, you know. So,
Yeah.
I would think if you're $15 a month and we jump to 25, you might have some pushback, but if you want 20, you know, people probably wouldn't get too crazy about that, but I don't know.
Is that a number we can get, how many
Oh, yeah.
passes we have?
Yeah, Julie probably has it right now, but, I'd say typically, say for this year, she'll have it, but, maybe half a dozen.
We've had about 10 renew so far this year.
If you don't mind me throwing out one last thing, I understand, the balance and charging and all that. At the same time, I think the school does a good service, providing opportunities to a small community that wouldn't have them otherwise, such as racquetball and weights and whatever it is. So, I mean, there's a balance there too, to remember that, we kind of want the community to feel like they're a part of the school, and it's a big deal when everybody feels like we're all working together too. So that's a balance that we have to find as well.
Good to be friendly to the community.
Right, yeah.
Yes. Very much so. Thank you, Eric. Okay. I think I'm at me. Call for the vote. Myself, yes. Karsten?
Yes.
Dayton? Yes. Andrew?
No, I'd like more information in general before I could vote yes. Just what does it cost? What do we don't have enough to vote on, securely, in my opinion, but.
Okay.
To enter the conference as a host, enter your host PIN now. Otherwise, please wait or press pound to be placed into the conference.
hit and miss on, you know, which sport to put in.
So if you did every sport, that'd be 3, 6, and another 3, so 9 times $40.
Yeah, we did the math on this too, just so you know. That's we didn't go that high. That's the high. I did it either.
Well, he's counting every single
I'm just
sport.
counting every single sport
Yeah, right.
went to state.
2,000 was what, the estimate we had, and that's a big if. There's a lot of variables, so it's hard.
That's overall, right, not
Yeah.
increase, overall,
Yeah.
right?
So, all right, so with all the variables, it's hard to estimate that, but that would,
I bet we're talking about an increase of $200-300 a year. Is all it would be an increase of.
Roughly.
So I stay the same on this as I did the last one. We've got to know how this is affecting our budget, everything we do. We got to get teachers raises, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, if we don't know what the ultimate goal is, or we're sitting here trying to pull numbers out of the sky to get it in a board meeting, we're never going to get our teachers a raise if we don't really get harsh on everything.
Well, one thing that we can do is when we go to our next budget work session, we can pull that in and say, okay, how much are we spending on mills? And if that feels like that's a significant amount, we can say, well, we're not gonna spend on mills anymore, and then even if we approve it now, we can cut that
So
for the next budget.
I make a motion that we table this until a budget meeting and then revisit it.
You have a motion up, it has to be satisfied first.
Well, we can change the motion.
the guy who did the motion could change it.
Okay. Sorry, I thought somebody else could remend the motion.
I can remend it if that's what you guys would like to do. Okay. I mean, all right, I'll amend my motion to say let's table this until after we do a budget work session.
I'll second it.
Call for the vote. Kirsten?
Yes.
Peyton? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
So we'll get you
Yes.
what it cost this year? Is that, would that be like a cost analysis of what we spent this year and a projection of next year if we have really good teams that...
Just pick 5 random years and say, and it's not necessarily where I'm worried about $300 here or anything like that. It's just, if we don't start pinching pennies here, we'll never be able to find a penny somewhere else. And it's not that this isn't valid or that it shouldn't happen. I'm just basically putting my foot down saying it's gonna start everywhere, on the big tickets and the little tickets.
And it's not gonna hurt anybody between now and then. No one will be, I mean, I doubt we're doing this for the girls' basketball team that's leaving tomorrow, right?
Probably would have.
So dang it.
The office would have to answer that, actually. They probably didn't, knowing our procedure, but did we make it for the higher amount?
We would have not made it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
So it's not affecting anybody until the spring sports, which is a few months out.
Okay. Well, then we still have to vote. Wait, we already voted. Now we go to 6C. I'll make a motion that we approve adding a Title I instructional aide part-time position. Second. Discussion.
I assume we have the funds for it.
What's the,
COVID funds is the plan.
Okay.
There is, an increase from the state in the budget too. We're gonna see some savings from our health insurance projected. But it hasn't, the final decision hasn't been made yet. You guys will be making the final decision. But we are expecting some savings from health insurance. Revenue from the state they're increasing, and then there is, what we're commonly referred to as COVID funds that could definitely fund this. And we do have a Title I grant, but that grant is, in and of itself is already used, all of it. We use all of that.
and is this a position from year to year moving forward, or just to finish out this year?
To finish out this year, so it's part-time now.
to go to full-time, I will bring it back to the board.
Okay, so it could be a permanent part-time from year to year.
Yeah, we gotta fill it based on our needs, you know, and right
Okay.
now, we have struggling anyone who isn't proficient in their reading level, that's who this program is geared towards helping, so it's good to staff this based on our needs.
Is this high school and elementary as needed? Just elementary? And it's taken care of out of COVID money, correct?
There's leftover in Title I, we'll use that first.
But,
COVID funds, but I think is a better plan.
I think we do need to do something to help struggling kids, especially this year, and if we can do that, that's my thought.
Any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Andrew?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Yes?
Carson, thank you. Dayton?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to discussion items. Do we have any discussion items that need to come up?
Well, just to follow up from the, if I may, from the, budget work session, I have here, Steve pulled this for me, but it's a list of, how we talked about getting something on the website for the grants. So, if you're interested in looking at that after the meeting, it's a list of the different grants. I think Steve pulling that. And, the budget work session, I guess we'll set that here when we get to, information items.
Information items, yep. Any other discussion items? Okay, how about information items? A, request for future agenda items. How many requests for future agenda items? Okay, let's go to 8B, upcoming meetings. I think we need to do at least one more budget meeting, if not two more. But we only have to set one right now.
Yeah, let's set one.
One's a good time.
Next week, spring break.
When are we having the budget that has to be approved?
Well, the budget isn't approved until, it's proposed in June and finalized in July, but we do need to, make a decision on our benefits and our salaries, and typically we try to do that at our April meeting, which would be the 13th, so we want to do it before then.
How about the last Tuesday in March? Just in case we have to have another one before the April meeting. Huh?
That'll be the 30th.
Do we want to move it up just in case? Time-wise to
Do one
get,
next week.
yeah, to
as
get,
well,
to get another
'cause
one
it's
in.
the second Tuesdays, so we would have a Tuesday in
Okay.
between. So you can do March 30th, and then if you needed to, you could do another one, and then you could do April,
Okay.
or we could pull it up. What are your dates looking like there, Andrew?
Tuesdays, they're open. I'd say let's go for the 23rd because in case nobody's figured it out.
Okay.
I really want to get some raises going on in here, and I'm ready to cut whatever we have to get it there. Down the lunch programs, so whatever, to get people where they need to be.
So the
23rd?
23rd at 6 again?
6 again? Is that okay? Okay, so I don't think we have to motion that, but March 23rd, 6 p.m., budget work session.
And the April 13th.
Well, we're still working on the budget work session, just a second. So we requested last time, I'm sure Mr. Phil's told you, we really would like to see some broken down numbers. Because as Andrew's saying, we are looking to give a pretty good raise. And we're going to have to, if we have to figure out where we're taking money from to put it over here, if we have to figure out what we need to do so that teachers can afford to have insurance, we need to do that type of thing. So we're going to have some pretty good information of where our money's going, what we're doing with it, so we can make some hard decisions if we have to make some hard decisions. we're looking for.
It was,
Would you like to add anything to that? I don't want to speak for you.
No, that's pretty much straight up. I'm gonna find a way, no matter what, to get.
It was suggested that we have some examples in each of those groups, 3 or 4 examples of what that money's being spent on.
Sorry to interrupt, but he got me some of that.
Okay.
And I made 2 or 3 copies here just in case after the meeting you wanted to. So what I asked him to do specifically, so you could see what this report would look like raw without, making it fancy or anything, what the expenses out of the instructional supplies have been, for a couple months during this. So the first page is like high school, second page, elementary. And we don't really need to, I think we separate the codes and we just talk with those titles like instructional supplies. It would simplify things. But you can see here, so there's copies.
Okay.
There's plenty of copies. How these are being coded, like where, what gets funded from what category.
Okay. Yeah, that's because we were looking for that, and that would make a difference.
And I did get some tax information if, Mr. Bushman, if you're interested, I could probably do this outside the meeting, but I kind of take you through a few things if you're interested. You had asked for.
Okay, anything else on the budget session? So, March 23rd, 6 o'clock. That brings us to setting the April 1, which is going to be
April 13th.
Which one?
April 13th.
April 13th, 6 o'clock. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I like to keep it so that we're always doing it at the same time.
Is there anything that's happening then that would take principals and superintendent and anybody else away?
April 13th or March 23rd?
think there's any athletic.
Either of them? What about the March 23rd?
March 23rd, there's a Wade Williams baseball on that day.
Whatever last that week, it's on Tuesday or
I think it's just Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't show any kind of down. That's all right.
Okay.
Dealt with it. That's the first game.
So we'll look at you, the next board meeting?
No, not
The budget meeting. Okay.
Okay, is that it? Can I make a motion that we adjourn?
I'll second it.
Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew? Yes. Myself, yes. Carson?
Yes.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate it. 6:59. Adjourn at 6:59.
Thank you all.
Yeah, I gotta sit. Do I want it here, or do I want it here, or do I want to take my glasses off?
Oh, the regular portion.
Is there anything we need to sign?
Not that I know of. Sorry, I think Steve might went to grab. Yeah, he's grabbing. Not that I know of.
I think,
Oh, there is something to sign.
Yeah,
Well, besides the vouchers. Here, if you guys want to pass that down.
Is it off? The whole kit and caboodle?
Yeah, I couldn't get it turned right either.
Do you want one of these, Andrew?